practice will be on our backs. You are welcome to open a blanket across your mat or rest on a carpeted floor. You don't need a sticky mat for this practice. And then you'll start out lying on your back. As you come onto your back, you're welcome to stretch your legs out to do this kind of check-in, to take notice how you're feeling here at the beginning of the practice. However, if that creates unease in your low back, come into this constructive rest position. So maybe closing your eyes, giving yourself just a couple of breath cycles to take notice of that relationship between back, body, and floor. To take notice of your breath moving in and out. Next time that you breathe in, you're going to stretch the fingers of your right hand. And then as you breathe out, you'll let the fingers of your right hand soften. Inhale, stretch your fingers, and it doesn't have to be as wide as you can or aggressive at all, just kind of opening as you breathe in and then softening as you breathe out. Now next time that you stretch the fingers of your right hand, I'd like you to also stretch the toes of your left foot. So inhale, stretching right fingers, left toes. Exhale, softening. So these contralateral or cross body movements are super helpful for our nervous systems, our brains. They increase connectivity across that corpus callosum, so help the right and left sides of the brain communicate with each other. The next time that right fingers and left toes soften, just let yourself pause there and take a moment to tune in. What do you notice? Does the right foot feel different from the left? Right hand different from the left? Maybe more of a sense of connection or aliveness in those parts you just moved. And now we'll shift to left hand. So as you inhale, spreading the fingers of your left hand, and then as you exhale, letting your fingers of your left hand soften. And again, it doesn't have to be as big as you can, just opening with the in-breath and softening with the out-breath. Next time that you spread the fingers of your left hand, add your right toes. So this creating this stretch, we're kind of opening through the inhale and then a softening, a letting go with the exhale. And next time that you soften, left hand, right foot, pause, and once again, what do you notice? And then we want to do a symmetry. We want to bring symmetry to our movement. So we're going to move all 10 fingers, all 10 toes, spreading as you breathe in and softening as you breathe out. Feel free to play around with letting this movement even be quite small, just barely opening and spreading fingers and toes as you breathe in and then letting go as you breathe out. Next time that you breathe out and let go, pause. What do you notice now? What do you notice about your breath? About how your body is resting on the floor, your state of mind. And now we're going to shift attention to the wrist. And I suggest that you let your upper arm rest on the floor, but then let your forearm lift towards the sky. And then you'll just start to make some circles with your right wrist. And you're welcome to watch your right hand moving or allow your eyes to be closed and sense the movement in that right hand. And then you'll reverse the direction of the right hand, circling in the opposite direction. And now you're going to circle back in your first direction and add circles in your left ankle. And just notice, do they want to circle in the same direction or opposite directions? And then reverse the directions of the left ankle circles, the right wrist circles. One more circle, and then relax. And again, simple movements, but often quite profound effects. So take notice, let yourself rest between sides. Notice any side-to-side differences. And then move on to left wrist, so circling that left wrist. Just easy circles, watching your hand or not. And then reversing the direction of the circles. And now circling back in the original direction with the left wrist. And now adding in the right ankle. And just notice how that feels, if it takes a moment to coordinate. Reverse the direction of those circles. And then letting that movement go. Once again, just a couple of breath cycles to check in. What do you notice so far? And then we'll go with all four limbs, so circling wrists and ankles together, noticing what direction they go in, and then reversing the direction of those circles. And then letting that movement go. And once again, give yourself a moment to check in. So remembering here we're aiming towards our nervous system. These movements are really super helpful for finger joints, wrist joints, ankle joints to bring hydration into the joints. But more importantly, taking notice of what's happening with your breath, what you notice about your state of mind. And now we're going to shift into constructive rest position. So you'll bend your knees, bring your feet flat to the floor. Again, we want to tune into the movement of the breath. So you're observing your body breathing in and breathing out. We're going to do a pelvic clock movement. So you imagine that there's a clock face under you on the floor. Your tailbone is by 6 o'clock. Your back waist or top of the sacrum is at 12. Behind the left hip is 3 o'clock. Behind the right hip is 9 o'clock. So next time that you inhale, you'll press your tailbone down towards the floor. So your low back is going to arch a bit more away from the floor. And then as you exhale, you'll press into 12 o'clock. So inhale, the low back arches away from the floor as the tailbone presses down. And then exhale, the low back lengthens and presses towards the floor as you breathe out. So we're going to take that a few more times at your own breath pacing. This movement doesn't have to be big to be very effective. You might notice how the rest of your body is responding to this movement. So tracking that movement up through the mid to upper back into the neck and head. Taking notice of what's responding to this movement of your pelvis. Next time you press your low back into the floor will be the last time. So when you're inhaling your breath, you'll just come to a neutral position of your pelvis. So we did that kind of top to bottom axis of the clock. Now we're going to try the side to side. So you're going to press into your right foot. That's going to lift your right hip and back of the left hip get a little heavier on the floor, and then you'll release that, let your pelvis come to rest, and then you'll press into your left foot. Left knee will reach forward, left hip will lift, right hip will get heavier, and then you release, come to completely relaxed, and then you'll come back to finding that 3 o'clock by pressing into right foot. This coming to complete release is really important in the system of movement. And again, these simple practices with our dedicated attention is very soothing to our nervous systems. Take one more time each side. And one thing to keep in mind in the system of movement, bigger is not better. So this could be a very tiny movement and be very effective. We're going to try one more sequence here. So you'll exhale, press your low back towards the floor. And now you're going to start to circle around towards 3 o'clock, seeing if you can find 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, down towards 6, and then circling around the other half of the clock. And you're taking notice of where you feel that clear connection between those hours, those points on the clock face, and where that's more elusive. You might play around with making the movement smaller, like instead of resting on a clock face, you're resting on a watch face. Next time that you find yourself at 12 o'clock, circle around in the opposite direction. Again, it could be the small watch face or maybe a bigger clock face. Taking notice of the points that, again, are clear, that you can feel a sense of, and the places that are more elusive. Is it different circling in this direction? Next time you find yourself at 12 o'clock, pause. And then let your pelvis come into a natural position. Have you settle in for Shavasana here. So stretch out your legs. I'm going to actually put this seated just